Thank you. Breaking overnight, police canvassing the area near a Southside hotel. A person was killed inside that hotel.
This was the Extended Stay America, which is on Skinner Lake Drive.
Not seeing a lot going on right now. In fact, we don't see any crime tape. We don't see any police presence. This happened at 8:30 last night. Police got here. They found an adult shot to death inside of a room. I say adult because right now we don't know if it's a man or a woman. Right now, police have no suspect information that they've given us.
I was born in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I've been in Jacksonville 3.5 years now. When I lived in Atlanta, I used to come here and visit a friend in Jacksonville. And when I was living in Atlanta, my friend in Jacksonville had called me and told me that the HRO had passed here. And I was like, little bit of Jacksonville? I was like, let me get to Jacksonville to see what's going on. So I came down for the weekend, and it was no issue with me going into the women's restroom. I don't know if people knew that I was transgender or didn't know I was transgender. It didn't even matter, but people was more receptive of transgender women here in Jacksonville. I thought at the moment I wanted to be in a city where there was equality.
I grew up in Jacksonville, and I grew up in Riverside mainly, and I also grew up going to my grandparents' house off of MLK, which is part of the area of Jacksonville, which is considered the murder capital. So I grew up with people passing away from gun violence and all other kinds of unspeakable violence related to the sex trade and related to drugs. So I have kind of an intimate history of that in my lifetime. My name is Ari Gaskin, and I'm the managing director at Phoenix Arts District. I've been really involved in the LGBTQ scene and activism for the past 7 years now, since I moved back to Jacksonville. I think that this is one of the markers in time that has been the most affecting to our community, and one of the most painful moments in time for us that hasn't seen enough light and hasn't seen enough progress.
My name is Adam Pendley. I'm an assistant chief with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. We became first aware that there was an issue with having what is essentially a high number of transgender murders because we had 4 within a relatively short period of time.
3 black transgender women killed here, 1 queer guy killed, beaten and dragged here. I just couldn't believe that I moved here and just what's going on here. I couldn't believe it.
I'm Christina Kittle. I'm a middle school teacher and a community organizer. And I was actually back home in New Jersey visiting friends, but I got a message about it, and the first death was Celine Walker. So, you know, we heard about it, and we decided to have a rally just to say, like, hey, this is not acceptable in Jacksonville. There actually is a community here that's against this.
A local activist group called Transgender Awareness Project met at the Friendship Fountain tonight to call attention to the misgendering of transgender people.
And we actually met Paige, a transgender organizer, through that, who was friends with Celine.
What is your message tonight?
My message tonight is stop killing transgender women. Stop disrespecting transgender women. We are here. We are women. My name is Paige Mahogany Parks. I am the Executive Director of Transgender Awareness Project here in Jacksonville, Florida. She's from Tampa, and she would come here often, go to the club and stuff, and I would see him, you know, speak and all that. That was the relationship with me and Celine.
As one thing that we did notice immediately in the reportings, they were misgendering the victim. They were calling Celine, you know, a male, and saying it was a black man dressed as a woman who was murdered, and they were dead naming her.
Explain the concept of dead naming.
Your birth name, you didn't lay it to rest. That's not what you go by now. Whatever your name that you call yourself, that's your name. That's what people know you by. You could have had that name 20 years, and that's your name. I don't know you by your dead name. I don't know you by your birth name. I know you as this individual.
When you're asking witnesses if they knew a black man named Cedric Walker, you're going to get mixed responses. People didn't know her as that. So that was our main demand. However, it went unmet.
It was just disrespectful. So I reached out to media. I got in touch with all the local media. I was running a story. And told them that what they were doing was wrong, and it was very disrespectful that they would be dead naming and all that, being disrespectful to the dead. JSO was saying, well, we can't call them by their names that they're going by. We have to call them by their real names.
For police reporting purposes, there's a legal name that we have to use for reporting. There's that goes through a variety of things. We also, unfortunately, how, you know, depending on how you look at it, there's families that are involved that have a way that they expect things to be reported. But we also use also known as, so we can make sure that we recognize the person in the way that they live, because again, that creates that connection to getting better information, I think.
The victim's family has confirmed that a transgender woman who was identified initially as a man by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office was found shot to death between two abandoned houses on Eller Street.
It took Antashay English, the second murder victim, for the news media to start correcting themselves.
Anastasia English was 38 years old, and her sister tells us that she had been living as a transgender woman for more than 20 years.
What did you say your name was, sir?
I'm Alfred G., retired United States Marine Corps veteran.
What can you tell us about what happened on Ella Street in 2018?
In 2018? Well, I was not here in 2018.
Before you moved here, did you know that there was a murder that happened in that house on Ella Street?
I heard about it, but I'm a former Marine. Killings mean nothing to me. I've seen them all in Afghanistan. So you hear it happens every day. You know what I mean? I'm insensitive to murders. I'm insensitive to killings, sadly to say, thanks to the United States Marine Corps. But that murder was unnecessary, and it was, whoever done it deserved to go to the depths of hell. The depths of hell. Now, I don't know what the purpose was, you know, why this particular person got murdered, but you got some homophobes, you got some people who, you know, who are sick in the head and will just about harm anybody that's different like that.
My name is Raven Delilah Winehouse. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, February 1st, 1996 at 5:45 p.m. Back in Georgia, me and my family had some issues, and DTF had to get involved. So that they had to separate me and my siblings. And my aunt took us in, me and my younger brother, and we ended up in Jacksonville when I was 10. And when I was 13, I had a run-in with the law, which moved me out of Jacksonville and around Florida. I got out when I was 17, and I moved to Orlando. I was only there for 2 months, and then I had relocated back to Jacksonville. When I heard about that, I was actually shocked and actually scared myself, because having to walk out my house is I won't say it's a privilege, but it's my right to just walk out and not have to feel afraid for my safety, you know, because I want to live how I want to live. You know, I shouldn't have to be judged based on that either. You know, it's always a challenge, and it's always a risk with having to be who I am.
We begin tonight with a third instance this year and the second time just this month that a transgender woman has been killed in the city of Jacksonville. This latest homicide at a Quality Inn on the south side near I-95 and Bay Meadows Road.
It's a deep hurt, it is. I mean, because I feel like no parent should ever have to bury a child, and then, then that's what I had to do, so it's hard. I really feel like just because who she was and the life that she lived as far as the transgender life, I think that's why she lost her life. My daughter, Kaitlyn fun person, loving person, do anything to help anybody, just outgoing, love to have fun, just love life, period, love life.
Kathlina James would have been 25 years old. In 4 days, she was found shot to death inside this Quality Inn hotel off Dix Ellis Trail in June.
So to break down those figures for you, 13 transgender people have been killed this year nationwide, 3 of them here in Jacksonville.
I was angry. I was scared to leave out my house because I didn't know if I was going to make it home safe or not. Jacksonville city leaders let us down in so many ways. But there was no protection for us. We was on our own.
I might be wrong, but I don't know if they were directly motivated by transphobia, but in the same sense, yes, of course they were, because the rate at which other women are being murdered is not as high. So just categorically, yes, it has to be transphobia. But I don't think they were specifically targeted as if one group of people wanted to explicitly murder Black trans women. I think that they're just simply at higher risk of experiencing violence and hatred in the form of murder.
I thought so at one point because that was happening back to back. And they were all Black. And we thought it was a serial killer. The whole community thought it was a serial killer. We thought it was one person.
It's been more than a year and a half since police say Celine Walker was murdered at the Extended Stay America Hotel off Skinner Road. Sean Phoenix is now charged in her February 2018 murder, according to police. Park says it's not uncommon for transgender women to be murdered by men they have relationships with.
It's another story, honey. It should be off the record, honey, but I'm going to speak my truth because my truth may help some other girl. Well, when I moved here, I was in a relationship, and my boyfriend was very abusive. And I called JSO. They came. He had left before they got here because I told him I was calling the police. He had left. And see the holes? I'm just not getting those holes fixed. The white stuff, where he punched holes in my walls and stuff. But he's very abusive. I called JSO. They told me that I was lying because what he would do is my ex would come. Like if I'm calling the police, he'd fight on me, beat me or whatever and leave. So when the police come, he's not here. So they act like they're looking for him, but they go on about their business, okay? So he knows that they're gone, and he will come back and start shit all over again, fighting on me and all that. So in one incident, I called JSO, told him that I had someone here fighting on me, threatening my life. They came like twice. They came twice in the same night. He wasn't here, so they couldn't arrest him because they couldn't find him. So he came back, and I called him like a third time. That JSO came told me I was lying, told me I was the one that I punched the holes in the wall with my fist. They said that I was making up, I was high, but my eyes are bloodshot red because I was crying and I'm fighting this motherfucker, you know, I'm fighting him. And, but the same officer came out 3 times in one night and he came and arrested me and everything, left my door unlocked. I knew then that JSO and me being black and transgender was not going to be an item, honey. Yeah.
One particular hookup, someone had put a gun on me. They had robbed me. And when I went to tell the officer, they looked at me like I was out here doing sex work. People looked at me like I was being a sex worker. I have nothing against sex workers. I applaud sex workers. I hold them to a bigger standard than I do regular people, you know. But they looked at me like I was, and that made me feel, and they made it feel like I was below them. Like, no, it was supposed to be a hookup, which I am entitled to. You know, I don't have to necessarily explain why I did a hookup or whatever the case may be, because I am human and I do have my needs, sexually, emotionally, or physically, you know. But the fact that you did not take into account my emotional well-being or my physical well-being, and you just looked at me like I was trash, pure filth. And then you laughed about it like it was okay, which was not cool at all. You know, you didn't take the necessary precautions like I thought you would.
In the media, they had portrayed Celine Walker before they found out who really murdered her. They thought that she was doing sex work.
So part of Matt Shepard law does talk about people receiving justice even if they're murdered while they're doing illicit activities, so sex work, right? We know that's illegal. Regardless, she still deserves justice. So I think the fact that they reported that for public consumption was just, you know, unnecessary, and it definitely set a tone. You know, there's people out there who think just because somebody was engaged in what's perceived to be an illegal activity, they don't deserve justice now, or there's not as much urgency behind it.
They always assuming that black transgender women, you know, are sex workers. Like that's all we do is sex work, and we're not intellectual. We don't have nothing else going on, and that is all we know how to do is stunt. Stunt is like doing crimes and, you know, sex work. That's all they think we know how to do is stunts and sex work. They portrayed Kaitlyn James also as a sex worker because they came to her hotel room and found money. You know, they don't investigate these crimes. They just sweep them up under the rug, and, you know, they go on camera just enough to keep the community quiet, you know, and that's it. Now, the other 2 murders, they're walking scot-free. So I don't know what connection those 2 may have, but there's no connection, honey. These are separate incidents that had happened. Kaitlyn James, the third victim that was murdered here from North Carolina, her father and I talk all the time, and he said he calls JSO every week, and they still have not found the murderers. He didn't told them that he heard this and that about his child being murdered, and they need to go check these people out, and JSO has not been investigated or did nothing.
The investigations haven't concluded by any means. The ones that are still remain unsolved are still being worked every day by investigations, is the feedback that I get. What the early investigations have revealed is that they're not connected in the sense that there's no evidence that someone is targeting transgender women in the community.
I thought it was very interesting that also at the same time there was a survey released of like how LGBT people felt in Jacksonville, and most of that survey, you know, was predominantly like white people who were being surveyed, and it showed that like most people felt comfortable in Jacksonville being like LGBT. But I think oftentimes when we're surveying, you know, we like to like clump like all identities and all experiences together, but it really erases like what actually happens when you're someone from more of a marginalized community, you know? A white gay man's experience as a queer person looks completely different as a Black trans person who lives in the South, you know? And you experience a totally different type of erasure when we do those types of surveys, and you don't actually highlight like what is happening in these communities, you know? So.
Did you watch her AOC's video, her response to what was his name, Johan? Mm-hmm. The guy that called her a bitch. So
my name is Giella. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a singer, I'm a rapper, DJ, educator, liberator, activist, I don't know, all the things. And right now we're at Jasmine, which is the LGBT Youth Center, where we basically I work here, and we help service youth who are experiencing homelessness. We do sexual health for folks who are queer, LGBT, and then we just do like drop-in services, so just like a space for LGBT youth to come hang out and feel good in. I'm pretty invested in the LGBT community, so you know, when that time was happening, it was really scary, you know, especially not only for like my Black trans like folks here, but also just like Black people all over. You know, especially when it comes from a trans person who maybe cannot afford like reconstructive surgery or to be on hormones or, you know, receive HRT, things like that. So they're not in what a cis-het person, which meaning like cisgender, heterosexual person, sees as passing, you know? So they're not able to present in a way that shows that they look the most like whatever they see in their eyes as like cis-het passing.
Do you feel safe in Jacksonville?
No. Hell no, sorry. I don't know if that's allowed, but oh my gosh, no I don't. Like the other incidents I was just telling you about, like it just happened within less than a week. I was robbed, and somebody put a gun on me, and that was less than a week. So no, I do not feel safe in Jacksonville. I kind of despise living in Jacksonville.
I think these murders happen because there's just hateful people in the world. You know, transgender people don't really fit in the LGBT community or, you know, otherwise. So as long as there's people who are going to be different, there's always going to be people that try to attack them. And, you know, we do live in the South. We do, you know, it happens all over the world, but, you know, some places it just happens more frequently. So being Black and transgender are just two targets for hatred still.
Black transgender women doesn't live to reach 30 years old. You know, and that's what's happening. These women are being murdered before they even touch 30. Yeah.
Either I'm being discriminated for being trans, or I'm being discriminated for being Black. And sometimes it's from the same people in our community. And it sucks. 'Cause I'm like, aren't we fighting for the same thing? Aren't we supposed to be on the same side? How can you want peace, but you discriminate against people that's in the same community as you, you know? Like, I'm Black, yes, but I'm also trans. So you're gonna have to take that into account. Okay, I'm both. I'm not just one or the other. I'm both.
So I'm just recently queer. I'm not someone who like grew up queer or anything like that. But I can speak to like being Black and being Hispanic growing up. You know, I was in more predominantly white spaces my whole high school, middle school, elementary experience. And so it was very frustrating, you know, and especially when I did come out, like the only other like Black queer person that I had was my partner, you know, who was like close to me. And it was really hard because also my experience and their experience was totally different. You know, I'm a femme presenting like person who could pass as like cis-het, you know. And so, I'm sorry. And so finding community can be very tough, you know, especially for not only like Black trans people, but also just like Black people who live like in the South, you know, to share experiences, because our experiences are not monolithical. And it can be hard to share space, you know, because of like safety and things like that. And so for me, you know, I wanted to create a space where like it was, you know, safe for like Black and brown people to possibly exist in. And so that's why I created, you know, my dance party, Duval Folks. Because I wanted to find community. I wanted Black and brown people to feel like safe, like in a space. Like I wanted their bodies to not be fetishized or felt like they were gonna be, you know, in harm's way.
The hardest part is trying to find someone that won't judge you for who you are. Trying to create the connectedness, you know, that you want to share, or trying to find people that want to connect with you. The right people, not the people that want to abuse you, take advantage of you, or opportunists, you know. You want to find the right people that shares the same values or strengths and characteristics that you have. You know, everybody's different, yes they are, you know. Everybody isn't gonna be the same. Everybody isn't gonna necessarily agree with everything that the other person agree with, but it's the connectedness and the similarities that you guys both share that brings you guys together as a whole, which strengthens the bond that you guys have.
I like the young trans, bisexual, gay, lesbian, queer folk. They get it. They see what's happening. They speak out about it. They bring about change. But the younger generation, they get it. They, you know, they get it. I'm proud of the young generation. They, like I said, you know, they're more aware than I was when I was growing up, you know.
Once I did start to find more of a community, even within Duval Folks, then I realized how much Southern solidarity there is and how magical like queers are here in Jacksonville, you know? Sometimes it can be hard, you know, sometimes it can be isolating being like the only Black queer person around, you know? And sometimes you just want to express like, you know, I experienced this thing and someone doesn't even have to say a word, but they get it, you know? And sometimes it was very hard to find that in this community. But Duval Folks was birthed, and you know, now I have so many Black and brown people who are my friends that I can just like, you know, talk to, check in with, and share space in. So yeah, I'm not apologizing for my tears, but sorry.
Girls like me fought for them to have it easier than we had it. You know, yeah, it's still a little struggle, but they doing good. This younger generation is doing good. because there's a lot of help out there now for young people in the LGBT community.
A little story about how I met Cameron for the first time. It was at Tracy Polson's housing town hall at a theater, and he was just sitting in the back by himself, and he had so many great questions about the housing crisis that we're now facing in Jacksonville and how we can actually address it. And he brought up mobile home communities and some of the work he's been doing in the community. We started to talk about the Amber House and how important it was.
Amber House is a safe house, so with the youth between the ages of 17 to 24, if you get put out your home or displaced, you're able to come stay in the Amber House. Everything's included, lights, rent, water, fully furnished, Wi-Fi. You're able to come here and have a safe place.
40% of homeless youth identify as a member of the LGBTQ+ community, 40%. We need to have safe places in our community for them to go if they're kicked out of their house or for whatever life circumstance provides. We need them to feel safe. We need them to have shelter. We need them to have food, water, protection. And this is just the start, I hope. This Amber House is hopefully a series of houses that we can put together across Jacksonville to lift up our community with working with Jasmine and Equality Florida and all these other great organizations here in Jacksonville.
I'm gonna cry tonight. I'm gonna cry tonight when I watch it on the news and know the impact that I'm proud of it, actually. But I will say it's been very heartwarming, the support and just the kind words and just the friends that I've made over the last 60 days when it came to the actual Amber House. So I don't want to say too much because I'll cry up here. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to do the ribbon cutting. Yes, Paige, Raven. Reverend Corey, Josh.
How do I personally move forward? Keep living in my truth. Speak about my truth. I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah. You know, keep living in my truth and I speak about my truth. That's how I'm going to move forward. You know. Be a doer. You know. If I can, if what I'm doing counts, then count me in, you know. Because there's always going to be work to be done in the community. Somebody has to do it, you know.
3, 2, 1.
Even with the voices that can't speak, the dead, murdered, transgender people, they can't tell their stories, honey. But I can. So moving forward, it's just basically living in my truth, you know, and staying true to myself. Yep.
I've been working hard, keeping my head up, creating a space for those that don't have a space to call their own, a safe space at that. You know, it's not that many safe spaces around Jacksonville. I started a job with Jasmine. I got promoted and I started a nonprofit organization called Transgender Empowerment Alliance, dedicated to empowering our trans and non-binary community while also servicing our whole LGBT spectrum. I've been good. I've been working hard for myself. I've been trying to create a future that I'm going to be happy with. I've been trying to make sure that I don't struggle, or people or my younger generation don't struggle if I decide to have kids or adopt, either or. Things have not been happening as fast as I want them to be, but it's happening slowly but surely.
We've been here. We're here. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to be erased. So society may as well adapt to us, because we don't need to adapt to society. We didn't choose this lifestyle. We didn't have no choices. It chose us, Black transgender women and brown women. Yeah. We didn't choose this lifestyle, it chose us.